Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host. And as you hopefully already know, Tactical Magic sort of vacillates between more energetic, spiritual, mindful, transformational healing topics and sometimes more business strategy and ways to unlock your marketing and things like that. Today is going to be more on the transformational healing side of the spectrum. We're going to be talking about sacred sovereignty and sacred listening. And I think you're really going to enjoy the wisdom that this guest has to share. So hang tight. We'll be back in just a sec. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. Awesome. So Brighid Murphy is a leading expert in transformational healing, a healing catalyst, and a spiritual life coach. She developed the sacred listening method and empowers people to shift their consciousness and reclaim their power to heal through deep listening and communicating with their souls. Brighid is the creator of Soul Path programs, the Healers Collective, in-depth group immersions, and one-on-one transformational healing experiences where she encourages the practice of spiritual growth. Welcome to the show, Brighid.
Thanks so much, Molly. Happy to be here.
I'm happy to have you here. So, some people out there listening are maybe on an earlier part of their journey of becoming an entrepreneur. Will you tell us a little bit about how you sort of found your path and claimed this as your focus for your business?
Absolutely. It definitely was not on purpose. I feel like I came into entrepreneurship because I have a deep dedication to serving the planet. And in order to fulfill that mission, I needed to be able to do my spiritual work and help people full time. So about 10 years ago, after being and doing healing work since I was probably in my late teens and early 20s, about 10 years ago, I realized I needed to get some more skills if I was going to make this a sustainable business. So, about 10 years ago, I started to study online marketing and I learned how to communicate about what I do in a way that makes sense to people and that people can step into doing spiritual work without it sounding too woo, and with them having an understanding of what it is the result they're going to get working with me. So I learned all about that and how to create a shape for the work so that I could share it with more people. That's the short of it.
Awesome. And how's it been claiming this as your focus and having this be your main gig in life?
Yeah, it has taught me some of the greatest lessons. It's taught me, let's see, a lot about visibility and some of my own insecurities. It's kind of pushed me to have to do my own spiritual work. Now, I'm someone who volunteers to do my spiritual work on a regular basis. And I find that when I have hiccups or stuff that comes up for myself, there's no separating that from my business. So I need to make sure that I am staying on my path so that I can hold a clear space for other people and also resonate that out because I am, the marketing piece. I'm doing my own marketing. So
Yeah.
it has, yeah, I would say that's a big piece of what I've learned.
Yeah, I love that you're bringing that up. I've actually made a couple posts in the last few weeks about how your business is a pathway for your spiritual growth, and that the work that shows up, the challenges that show up in your business are perfectly designed to help you break through things in your inner world that then lead to your greater expression in your business and in your outer world, which is, yeah, that's how the world functions. Is your stuff is going to show up in whatever way it can to help you evolve and your business at large, but especially when you're running a service-based, heart-centered business where you're telling the world that you can help people, your stuff is going to come up. And when you're willing to look at that stuff and actually unpack it and unwind it and heal it and look at it, you get to, blast off in greater and greater ways energetically and then also professionally, which is really fun.
Yeah, yeah. I didn't expect, anticipate, or understand any of that when I set out to offer my work full time in the world. I learn as I go. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Me too. So one of the things you speak to is sacred or spiritual sovereignty. Could you just let us know what does spiritual sovereignty entail, and what are the ways that that can be showing up?
Yes. Spiritual sovereignty entails us being connected to our souls and our spiritual practice in whatever way that looks for each of us, so that we have a reliable source that's internal or accessible through our bodies and our minds and our hearts, that an accessible source for information, so that we don't have to rely on other people and systems that are broken to guide us. We can have an internal compass that allows us to be solid and sure and at times unwavering in the climate that we live in, which can be confusing and filled with a lot of jumble that can make it challenging to know what to do. So, sovereignty in the spiritual realm allows us to stay really centered in our core and make better choices without being influenced by all of the junk that's out there.
Yeah. Yeah. Resiliency is the word that comes to mind. Yeah.
Yeah.
Finding your path, your truth, your alignment is so valuable and important. Yeah. You also mentioned sacred listening. Can you describe a little bit about that?
Absolutely. My path has led me to develop a process that helps people to deeply listen with all of their senses. And when you are able to listen in a sacred way, you can hear what I call the sacred forces talking to you. You can hear your intuition talking to you. You can communicate with nature. I believe that everything that's alive, whether we can see it or not, has an essence to it. And when we communicate with that essence, we can receive information back. And I experience healing to sometimes be a long and confusing, frustrating, and painful journey. And when we learn how to listen to what is wanting to be healed, then we can obtain the information that we need to move forward on a healing path without relying on other people and systems that are broken to guide us. So um, I help people learn how to listen with all their senses so all the information that's available can come through. That's, in a
Awesome.
nutshell, sacred listening. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So, what are some symptoms you think are noticeable? Like, if we're not in a place of listening, how are are there indicators that we can start to pay attention to that maybe show now would be a good time to cultivate some more listening in our lives?
Yes. When there are when there's an inability to find the answers, we are not listening. When we are confused and don't know what to do next or where to turn for a long period of time, we're not in a place of listening. When there is something that wants and needs to be healed, and we just can't get the right piece of information, we're not in a place of really deeply listening.
Yeah.
When political leaders are making horrible choices for their people, they're not in a place of sacred listening. They are operating from their heads and not their hearts. Sacred listening drops us into our heart. So
Yeah.
when people are making horrible choices and hurting other people, they're not listening. They're not receiving any information. They're inserting their will without taking other people into consideration. And they're not in a place of listening. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I found that if we're not listening, often there will be, a message trying to get to us that gets louder and louder. Like, this looks like your body finally like trying to give out on you because you've been overworking and not paying attention to it or listening to what it's asking you for. Or, your path is trying to divert to a new direction and you keep forcing it down an old one. And then it takes, ideally we listen before it gets so aggressive, but sometimes that message gets to you one way or another. And that can look like a car accident or, hitting your head or, some one that recently just happened to me. My dog got bit by another dog. And this has happened enough times in the 4 years that I've had him that I've started to acknowledge that sometimes my dog is trying to facilitate me. And I'm trying to make agreements with him like, hey, I will do better at listening to my path. You do not need to be my facilitator in this way. But his, challenge, his getting bit and needing to be supported and not, it totally changed the trajectory of my month. And I'm grateful for it. But I am just wanting to acknowledge that when we come to a place of sacred listening, when we start to honor those messages that are coming through, they can be gentle, that they don't get as aggressive, they don't get as uncomfortable, because we start to be in the flow of what our truth is and be aware of the direction we're supposed to move or the choice we're supposed to make. That's in our highest good or our highest alignment. That's taking us to the next place that we're meant to be, without it having to become some tragedy or some setback or some big challenge that we have to face and overcome. Has
Yes,
that been your experience of noticing that?
yes, as I'm hearing you speak, I'm just sort of seeing surrender,
Yeah.
the retreat, the taking a step back physically, emotionally, psychically from what we think is supposed to happen and letting the larger forces talk to us. Yes,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
has. It,
Absolutely. So what are some things that you like your people tend to come with to you in a certain state of being or state of mind and ready to choose something different? What are some of those common threads that people tend to finally reach out for your support?
yes. Folks tend to come to me when they have tried a lot of other methods and modalities, talk therapy, nutritional therapy, certain types of energy work, different things that people who are into personal and spiritual development try. And they have tried all the things and still they aren't having the breakthrough that they want. And so that's usually when someone finds me. I tend to work with other energy workers and healers who know all the things and are educated in their own realm, and they need a different point of view to break through. So the point of view that moves through me helps people to do that.
Awesome. I love that. And yeah, I mean, I think everybody needs support and guidance sometimes. And having somebody on your team, there's just nothing like having somebody on your team who's there to support you. Like you can have beautiful, great. I have some really amazing best friends in my reality that can so be there for me when I have, an emotional support need. And at the same time, when it comes to elevating our lives and growing and, expanding beyond some previous limitation or internal block, that sometimes we need somebody who's like a master in that game to help us see it in a new way. That like awesome if you have friends or loved ones in your life who can be that kind of a mirror, that kind of support, or have that kind of wisdom. But it's a lot more likely you're going to find that in somebody who's made their life about bringing that conversation to the table. So yeah, I highly encourage anyone out there who's vibing with Brighid right now to definitely check her out. We'll talk more about her services and stuff a little bit later. But yeah, I'm curious, are there any like moments you mentioned that you had to do some personal growth work as stuff came up with your own business? Have there been some moments that were just like that shift that you help people get that were turning points for you in your life?
I think the moment that I realized, and this was about 10 years ago, that the universe, I used to believe that the universe would just provide everything that I need if I was on my spiritual path. And about 10 years ago, I left a full time job and decided to pursue my teaching and my healing work. And I was smacked with the reality that the universe is actually not going to provide everything that I need in the way that I thought. And so I had to do a big mindset shift for myself and kind of go back to school in terms of educating myself on how to create a business and create programs and packages and workshops in a way that I could make a living. And it was a huge shift for me because I felt left out. I felt let down by the universe. I felt like I'm doing everything I'm supposed to be doing. What the heck is going on here? And I really had to eat some humble pie and shift some things around and kind of start from the way down deep bottom. Yeah, I was almost in bankruptcy because I so believed that everything was just going to fall into place. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a really powerful reminder for how the universe works is it is going to show up to support you and it's going to show you when it's time for you to show up and
Yeah.
take action and learn the next thing to master the next thing to get to the next thing. Yeah. Yeah. It's not just think about it and wish for it and then wait and expect. It's show up for it and take action and get the clarity or learn the thing so that the universe can open the next door.
Yeah.
Yeah. Such a good reminder, especially to anyone out there who's an entrepreneur and like, this is crazy. It should just be working now. It's like, well, maybe there's a next step. Maybe there's a leap. Maybe there's an in between step that you need to look at to get to that next piece. Super fun. Awesome. What's your favorite part about doing the work that you do?
Oh, the favorite part is experiencing people's ahas and experiencing people become aware of their own power to heal themselves. The shifts and changes that occur and free them up just are joy make me feel joyful, and I love that. I love to be a catalyst for people's growth.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I love working with my clients, one-on-one and in groups. I do love group work
me too.
because it really elevates everyone, and there's a very magical quality to coming together in an intentional, sacred way. So I love that. I love when the magic works through the people, and changes them.
Yeah, I love that too. I just got off my big 6 month program group call was this morning or this afternoon, right before this. And I was just like beaming at them at the end of the call. Like, I am so freaking lucky that I get to hold this kind of group in this kind of space and like watch them just inspire each other and inspire me and like hold each other. There's something I think, you and I have probably been in groups like that plenty of times before we ever started our own. But there's something really magical about being in a container like that and seeing how people like support each other and like lift each other up and see the beauty and magic in each other before some of them have even claimed or like acknowledged it in themselves. That is the magic. But getting to be the one who made that space and who created the container for that to happen is like one of the most special things to choose as an entrepreneur, as somebody who's on, you know, guiding people in their transformational healing journey. To get to see that in a group container that you made is one of the most fun things I think ever.
Absolutely agree with you.
Yeah, super good. So, what is the Healers Collective?
Healers Collective is a 6 month program that's live and online to help healers to take their work into the world. So, and I didn't intend to create this. Um, after years of studying entrepreneurship and marketing and realizing what I wished I had 10 years ago, I created a 6 week program, but that wasn't quite long enough. And so I wound up creating a 6 month program where I teach people how to talk about what they do, how to receive money for what they do, and how to create their work outside of just doing individual sessions. So I help them identify goals and I help them reach their goals in starting or changing their business. Yeah,
Awesome. It's
yeah,
a really valuable space to be in, and healers often need that kind of support. Yeah.
yeah.
That's definitely what I found in my work with healers and coaches as well. You mentioned you have a workshop that people can go and check out about sacred listening. Would you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. Yeah, this workshop happens once a month on the third Wednesday of the month, 7 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Recordings are available. And each month I take a different part or different segment of sacred listening and I teach it. So people can come to one of those or they can come to all of them and learn how to listen more deeply. Yeah, that's an ongoing offering that I have
Awesome.
available.
What would you say just to anyone out there who's listening, whether or not they're a healer or an entrepreneur or anything like that? What are the most important things to keep in mind to sort of honor themselves or to step forward on that transformational healing path? Like, what words of wisdom or key points should they be thinking about on that kind of journey?
I think the key point is also an action step, and that is to take 5 minutes a day consistently and do something that is of a quiet nature. You don't have to be still, something that is quiet, meditative, and healing. Because after a month or two, you will have developed a pattern and a process that helps you to receive information from your intuition and your guidance. 5 minutes a day on a regular basis is to really tune you in.
Yeah. And I think once you start doing that, you'll start wanting more than 5 minutes and finding yourself choosing more than 5 minutes. Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah. I have to say, just yeah, piggybacking on that concept, I meditate sometimes just 15 minutes a day, but doing it as many days a week as I can manage, which is usually most of them, unless there's some early morning dog thing that needs to happen and I skip it that day. My life is dramatically different on the days that I don't meditate. And it's not just that I feel crappier by the end of the day or that I'm more like irritable or reactive by the end of the day. It's also like the things I'm trying to do flow easier on a day that I've done the meditation, on a day that I've had that moment of listening and the ideas for what to create next, especially as an entrepreneur. If you're low on ideas or you're low on clarity, like sit with yourself and just be quiet, because there is some part of you that's trying to talk, that's already done the subconscious, unpacking of what to do next. It could even just be go look up so and so and ask for their advice. It doesn't necessarily always come through as the words exactly that you need to hear. Most of the time it can, though, if you keep practicing. But to cultivate that inner listening, to cultivate that blank space where you're not just flooding yourself, flooding your consciousness with input, you're able to tap into more when you're not constantly berating your mind and your brain with input. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I so agree with you. I think that I do 10 minutes a day for myself, and that 10 minutes a day not only reboots my nervous system, it opens up a ground for ideas and new awarenesses to come in.
Yeah. It's the biggest life hack. And it's silly because we know this already, the Buddhists have been telling us, just be here now, just sit quietly. And it's like, no, it really is. There's something transformational just in that silence or in that, like you said, meditative moment that you give yourself. Super, super awesome. And for those people who out there, I love that you work with healers too. Those people out there who are on a journey of growing a business or stepping into their healing modality in a more professional way, what words of advice or words of wisdom would you want to give them?
Make sure you sign up for a coach and or help. Like some of your programs look excellent, Molly, because we cannot do it all on our own. And even if we could, we're not supposed to. So hire somebody to help you if you want to grow.
Yeah, it just speeds up the whole process. Yeah. Definitely. I had lots and lots of support for the first few years of my business and still have support now. But yeah, the willingness to invest in ourselves, both financially and time wise, is going to save us time in the long run and make us more money sooner in the long run, usually. Yeah. Awesome. Well, you shared so much magic. What is the best way for people to follow you or find you or get a hold of that workshop that you were mentioning?
Yeah. BrighidMurphy.com is a spot where you can find the workshop under the upcoming events. And then I'm Brighid Murphy Healing on most of the platforms. And my first name is spelled Brighid. Yeah.
Awesome. We will put that link to Brighid's website and to that workshop in the show notes of this episode. And yeah, I just want to say thanks, Brighid. Thank you for choosing this path. Thank you for showing up in the world as, a guide and a support person and a mentor to walk other people home to themselves and walk other people, further down their journey to more presence and more awareness. I think one of the reasons why I so love the business that I run of empowering healers and leaders to take their businesses seriously is because I know that the ripple effect of one person getting support, one person taking a step forward on their path of growth, it ripples out into everyone in their lives. And so I just want to honor and acknowledge the ripple effect that you're having and that you choosing your path in this way has created. So thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me here.
Absolutely. Thanks for showing up and helping to share your message with the world. And everyone out there, thank you so much for watching, for listening. Definitely go give Brighid a follow on social media and check out her website. Maybe sign up for that sacred listening workshop. If you're still listening to this episode, it's probably for you. It's probably calling to you, and that's why you're still here. And whatever happens, keep asking big questions and taking bold action because you are here for a reason. We'll catch you next time.